Hey guys, hopefully you're all enjoying your Remnant 2 playthrough. But did you know that there's a class called the Invader, which is essentially a close-ranged assassin class that works great for multi-classing with the Challenger if you want to get up close and personal doing melee to enemies. It's a super awesome class with some amazing themed moves that you might otherwise miss out on because you have to do some very specific things in order to get it. But so you don't miss out, don't worry, we've got you covered in this video. The first thing to know is that you will need the Dreamcatcher melee weapon, and this is before you can even start doing the other steps to actually get the archetype for yourself. To get this, you will need to travel to Lossum, and you can do this either in the normal campaign or in adventure mode. You will need to progress through this world until you can get to the asylum, which is in the Morrow Parish area. Once you've reached this area and you can get into the asylum, you'll then need to find 3 dolls for the head nurse. These dolls are hidden all around the asylum, and normally one is on each floor. After you have collected all 3 of the dolls, you will then need to head to the head nurse and give them to her. She can be found in the last cell at the bottom of the basement on the left. Simply hand over these dolls to her and she will start to sing a song which will give you the numbers for the safe in the room above her. The safe is an optional thing but will give you a nice weapon. But what you really want to do is to find the key to open her cell door. You can easily get the key by going to the top floor of the asylum and jumping out of the window, and it will be on a balcony. Once you have this key for yourself, you can then head back down to the basement and go to her door. Then use the key, and inside you will find the Nightweaver's doll, which is very important. After this, you will then need to progress through the campaign objectives until you can access the blue spider web portal. This one normally requires that you get the soul key tribute to give to it, but if you've already done this, then you can just head straight through. Once you've done this and opened it, you will then go to a kind of upside down world in the asylum. In here, in the first cell on the left, you will find the Nightweaver's web. At this web, you then want to give it the Nightweaver's doll, and this will give you the melee weapon Dreamcatcher for yourself. With this, you're now ready to get the Invader class. And the next part's actually a bit shorter to do, so you're on the right path now. Next, you want to head to the Root Earth world, and you're going to want to fast travel to the second warp point in this world called the Corrupted Harbor. Within this world, there's a semi-secret path that will lead you to a special root structure. The most easy way to get here is from the engine room in the ship. It should look very similar in your world, and what you want to do is head to the very bottom right corner and there'll be a door to go through. Simply head through this door and follow the path. Within the area will be some enemies that will spawn and you will need to defeat these. But once this is done, you can then use the Dreamcatcher on the root in the very middle of the area and it will give you a consumable item. You will then use this consumable item and you'll be teleported to the Twilight Vale. Once you're here, you will have a boss fight to do and you simply need to defeat all of these enemies. Once you've defeated the boss, you will then get the Root Blade. With this material, you can then fast travel back to Ward 13 and trade it to Wallace with the Scrap and Luminite Crystal cost to get the Engram for yourself, which will unlock this archetype class for you to multi-class or even use it as your primary class. The prime perk for the Invader is pretty cool. It's called Shadow, and when you cast a skill, it will leave a decoy behind which draws in enemy fire for 3 seconds, and you deal 5% additional damage to enemies not targeting you. At level 5, this upgrades to 10% additional damage, while at level 10, you get 15% additional damage to enemies not targeting you. For your skills, to start with, you have the Void Cloak. This gives you an automatic perfect dodge on an incoming attack for the next 60 seconds. Each auto evade will reduce the timer of the buff by 33 to 100% based on the damage that you absorbed. And after this, it will spawn another decoy for 3 seconds. The secondary skill is Wormhole, which has you as the caster warp through space-time and then buffs your next melee or ranged attack within 5 seconds for an additional 300% damage. You can also hold this skill down to target it at an enemy, and that will then have you emerge behind them. And your final skill is Reboot. This initiates a data backup of your current health, stamina, relic charges, ammo, and negative status effects, which will then be stored for 30 seconds. While this backup is active, you have increased move speed and damage reduction, and reactivating the skill will then restore all of these saved values to you, such as your health, stamina, relic charges, and ammo, and also spawns a decoy for 3 seconds. So the skills for this class are really unique and have a really cool feel to them. But for your damaging perk, you have Shark. When sprinting for 1 second or evading, you get a stack of momentum which increases your ranged and melee damage. Your team perk is Loophole, that causes all ally ranged and melee attacks against enemies to be distracted by the Invader's decoy and grants lifesteal. The utility perk is Circumvent, which reduces the cost of evade and combat slide by 10%. And your relic perk is Override, which makes using a relic grant threat reduction of 25% for 10 seconds. While this is active, your next evade will also leave an empowered decoy for 4 seconds. And your unique trait for the Invader is Untouchable, which grants you an increased invulnerability window. So all in all, the theme for the Invader class is really cool, and it definitely pairs well with melee damage or range damage, but we think it would be excellent on a melee class when paired with the Challenger. If you have any tips for the Invader class, put them down in the comments below so we can all learn together as a community. Perhaps you found some really cool items that will synergize well, and the 2 videos on screen now, we think you'll really enjoy if you did enjoy this one. You don't have to watch them if you don't want to, but if you did like this video, you're probably going to like these ones too. And then tell us what you think after watching in the comments down below.